Yo. Welcome to the stream, everyone. My first ever, so take it easy on me. There's a little song lean that I never finished, so figured I'd kick it off with that. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. I'm Observer. I do all sorts of music production things, mainly in the realm of electronic music and rock music, so we're gonna mainly be sticking with those genres here. Yeah, so basically the format I want to use for the stream is basically during the week I want to go ahead and use different production techniques to synthesize sounds, come up with drum kits, come up with the basics you need to for music production. The techniques we're going to talk about here can be used for any type of music, obviously, but like I said, I mainly tend to stick with electronic music and rock music, so that's kind of my wheelhouse. So if you have any questions, you can email me at foreveraudio@gmail.com. Email address is right there below. You can also find me on, I'm not on every social media outlet, but you can find me on YouTube under Ultimate Observer, and you can also find my full-length record It's called On the Edge of Time. You can find it on Spotify. Observer with no vowels. That's 0B SRVR, 0B SRVR. All right. So one of the things I would like to do is, I'm big into modular synthesis. So one of the things I want to do is I want to try to do a Eurorack deep dives, and that's basically just diving into a module and really wringing it out, giving you guys a chance to ask questions about it, maybe live demo of it, so you can kind of see how it works. You can see how it works with other modules. If you want to email me any questions, again, my email address is there below, foreveraudio@gmail.com. Also, we're going to do this July 9th, this Thursday, 2 p.m. Pacific. I'm going to try to do these, I don't want to try to do one a week, but we'll see how things go. But yeah, this first one's going to be Thursday, July 9th, 2 p.m. Pacific. Tune in, live questions, stuff like that. Feel free. So today we're going to do, we are going to look at the Snare Drum 2, and do some drum synthesis. And we're also going, and then later on, we're going to go ahead and jump on the Eurorack, and we're going to do some sampling of some wavetable synths that for use later. Basically, I like to, spend some time and just sound design and just make interesting noises and sounds and store them away for later when I'm doing more focus-based music production. So it's kind of nice to have, some things that you've already worked hard on to just kind of pull up quickly and use. So we'll be doing that during the week, and on the weekend I hope to do more creative stuff like live jams and things like that. So let's go ahead and get right to the Snare Drum. All right, this is the Snare Drum 2. 6-channel drum synth. It's nice because it's a drum synth, so it's a synthesizer. It's not like a sample playback device or anything like that. So just go ahead and just cycle through the 6 different channels here. Oh, and it looks like my iPhone's frozen up, so let me go to a camera that's actually working. Here we go. We'll go to this one. Here we go. Okay. Again, 6-channel drum synth. I've got this hooked up right now to the Akai MPC Live, and it's just passing through the electron analog heat over here. I'm not doing any processing on the heat, so you're hearing the Snare Drum 2 on its own, unaffected. I want to design a couple drum kits. So we're going to go ahead and just see if I can get a better view for you here. And I'm going to restart this real quick. Actually, okay. So I guess I'll just stay here since this is working. Okay. Channel 1, usually reserved for a kick drum. So the Snare Drum 2's got noise and a tone generator. So here we can hear this is the tone generator. We've got a mix of the tone and the noise. We can control the noise with a filter. So we can get kind of like, more high-pitched sounds, all the tools you'd want to synthesize drum tones. So in the tone generation, I'm going to go ahead and just turn the mixer back all the way to the tone side. In the mixer, or in the tone engine, if you will, you've got the wave parameter. Actually, I want to go ahead and pull up the manual here. Okay, let's just take a look at the manual for a minute. So we've got different wave outputs. We've got banks, looks like in the A bank, We've got analog style, sine waves, triangle waves, sawtooth waves, square waves. So let's just cycle through some of these. You can hear what these sound like. These are more like synth tones. If you wanted to do more like effects, percussion sounds, that's what these first waves are for. If we go, let's see, in the R, we've got R1 and 2. These are ring mod. These are ring mod engines. Let's just go ahead and play with some of the parameters so we can hear what these sound like. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. So these are R1 and R2. Let's go to R2 for a minute. So we can get like a longer decay on that tone and change the pitch. And you can get it down way down low into bass territory. Cool. So let's keep going down the line here. T1, T-bridge oscillator. Let's hit wave, roll it down to T1, hear what that sounds like. It's kind of a nice bass tom typey sound. Okay. Now coming on down the line, we're going to look at the FM algorithms. Those are next. Here's FM 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very techno-y sounding, very. You can almost make pad sounds out of it, even though it's a percussion synth. You can almost kind of use it as just a digital synthesizer, actually, 6-channel digital synthesizer. Okay, so that's the FM Formants. Let's go to the next down the line. H, we've got the harmonic resonance modeling. Looks like there's 7 of those. Also, again, kind of like a bass, kind of like a floor tom type of sound. Okay, so that's H1 through H7. Actually, let's just spin through these. That's H5 right there. Let's get hear H6 real quick. That's a nice deep, bassy tone. Take down some decay. Maybe put some bend in it. Now, one of the cool things about the Snare Drum is, since it is a percussion synthesizer, we've got a lot of play in the velocity. You can get a lot of different changes to the timbre with just velocity. I'm going to go ahead and use the MPC Live, bring it into pad perform mode. Oh, make sure I'm on the right channel. I'm on channel 4 there. I need to be on channel 1. Let's roll it back to channel 1. So you can see I've got a lot of variance. Turn it up a little bit. A lot of variance in the tone depending on how hard I play it. Let's go ahead and play with that a little bit. Playing with some of the envelopes. Master pitch. Change the bend time a little bit. Reduce it. So this is basically, this mode in the MPC, in case you're not familiar, is basically like bringing it out across the keyboard. So here I've got my Nord Lead 4 down here. So you can kind of see it going up in pitch. This is also routed MIDI into the MPC, so I'm just basically playing the Snare Drum with a keyboard. So you can see the difference in pitch. I know you can't see my hands down here very well, but it's the same thing up here. You go and just octave up a little bit on the MPC. go ahead and can we latch this and lock this in. I guess I'm gonna have to hold it. Okay, let's hold it and then we'll change some parameters. So there. Pitch it down a little bit. That could be a good, you know, it's a good kind of meaty percussion. Just for gigs, let's go ahead and throw on the analog heat. Let's give it a little bit of, maybe use a little bit of rough crunch, the rough crunch character on the analog heat. Let's bring that up a little bit. There we go, there's some. Just for the sake of playing around with some parameters, let's go and just program in a little something. Okay, got a little sequence going. Let's go and just play with some of the parameters here. We're still in the harmonic resonance modeling. Okay, I've changed it to H1. This one, I like this. This is nice. Yeah, digging this. And all those pitch variations, that we're getting that all from, let me just show you what the MPC is playing back. Okay, here you can see the difference in velocity across. So all that variation is just coming from the velocity information. So you can get really dynamic with percussion synthesizer compared to something like, you know, like running samples in the Akai, in the MPC. Obviously, you can program all sorts of velocity, you know, control and whatnot in that as well with the samples. But I just really like how rich the Nord drum sounds with its percussion synthesis. I used to have a Nord Lead 2X and it had really nice percussion kits in it, and it was pretty much the reason why I went ahead and had to pick this up. Great little box. Okay, let's move on. Let's go ahead and save that. So it's on 1. Store that. I'm going to put that in sound 4. Just going to paste it there. Copy sound. Paste sound. There, now I've got it in 2 locations. So I'm going to leave it on 4. When I come back to 1, let's go ahead and keep going through. We've got a couple, let's get back to that. Got a couple more tone types. We've got P1 through P4, resonance modeling of tuned percussion, marimba vibraphone. Okay, let's go ahead and let's listen to that a little bit. So we're going to go to P1. Check out P2. A little bit noisier. P3. P4. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, so now let's get on to just trying to program some good old, you know, real life sounding percussion, but coming from, you know, analog percussion synthesis, coming from physical mod, or coming from, you know, subtractive analog synthesis, trying to sound like a real instruments, which, you know, is possible. So the very last bank, we've got drumhead resonance modeling. So that's what we're mainly going to be using. It looks like there's another bank for C. I think I have an older manual here that doesn't go with this firmware, but I'm pretty sure these are cymbals. Yeah, yep. Yeah, so there's a cymbal bank for synthesizing hi-hats and rides and stuff like that. We'll get to those as well, but we want to build a kick drum right now. So let's go to Let's go through the D's. It's already very kick drummy. I'm going to get back into my pad perform. Already sounds very nice. Nice. It's got a lot of rings for a long time. Okay, let's change up the view here for you, because let's do this. Okay. What up in the chat? Sorry, just got back into my dashboard here, so sorry I didn't see you in there. Yeah, I know that is my iPhone frozen. Let me just unlock it here and see if it magically comes back for us. Maybe we'll get lucky. I'm using NDI network interface iPhone capture with OBS, so working out some things. Let me just see if that. No, it's still frozen, isn't it? Okay, all right. Well, sorry about that. You know, it'll only get better from here. So yeah, getting back to the Nord drum. Let's go ahead and get into kick drums. Hey, I'm doing good, man. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. We're making some kick drums now with the Nord Drum 2. This is the D1 algorithm. Let's just roll through the algorithms real quick. I'm going to pitch them up a little bit because we're kind of deep in the depths there. Oh, you know what? Let's also turn off the analog heat. There we go. Now we got it just the Nord drum sound. I'm doing good, Mac Joe 82. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. For episode 1. Okay. D4, D5, D6, D7, D8, D9. Very subtle differences between a lot of these. Okay, let's play with some parameters. So we can see how much difference we have in the velocity. Let's go and run that sequence again. Play with a few parameters. The D5 algorithm right now. Let's try D4. So this has kind of got a lot of the body of a tom drum. Yeah, some of these decay quite a bit. True, very true. I'm at decay 19 right now. I'll roll it back. It's got as far as the decay goes, it's got a logarithmic and an exponential attack decay envelope on it, so you can get pretty. That's kind of cool. You can kind of really dial in some, some really detailed control. That's the D4 algorithm. Let's change the spectra a little bit. Good tom sound. If you want to add some attack, it's got a click generator as well. Just bring up the click a little bit. You can kind of hear now. So maybe be a little much. There's no click at all. And just for gigs, let's go ahead and bring up some click, and then you've got click type. That's like a really, you probably, unless you're in the, yeah, a little click, yeah, exactly. It kind of gives it like you're actually attacking a real, you know, a real drum. A lot of different click types there. That would probably be more for like a, you know, like a hi-hat. That's the N type, in case you're wondering. It looks like it starts with the N type, so I think I'll leave it on one of these Ps. We've got P1 through P9. So there's no click. There's parameters go from 0 to 50. There's click at 20. We'll leave it like that. This is kind of, again, another more kind of a tom sound, so I might save this just because I am digging these tom sounds. So I want to, you know, basically the way this thing works is you just save in the 6 slots that you have, and you can throw them all over. You've got hundreds of different programs on here, so yeah. So let's save this one too. So I'm going to hit Shift, copy. That copies whatever's in slot 1. I'm going to dump it off in slot 5. If I hit paste, I'm going to stop the MPC for a second now. You can see it's there. There's the one we had earlier, a little more thuddy. Here's one that I dug out from another kit, kind of more of like classic, kind of more of a classic tone with that one. Okay, so let's keep going with kicks here. I want to really get a nice sounding kick that's got nice dynamics in the velocity. So yeah, let's go ahead and play with this a little bit more. So going back, let's try a different wave. Let's try D5. So I think we're going to need a little bit of click, because I like a little bit of click in my kick drum. I definitely want that attack going on. I make, basically right now we're getting ready to do like a mid-tempo dubstep type tune, kind of like in the realm of Deep Dark Dangerous, Truth, that label, those sounding guys. Leon Switch, kind of one of my favorite producers, kind of try to emulate his sounds. That's kind of what we're building sounds to write a song like that later on, probably this weekend. So today we're just going to be doing wavetable sampling on the Eurorack in the next hour. In this hour we're going to finish off building a couple drum kits. So let's finish up this kick. Probably a bit too much decay. I'm going to use the exponential tone curve for the kick. Pitch it up a little bit. Bring down the octave on the MPC. Let's play with some more waves here. This one's kind of got a synthy tone to it. D7. Okay. It's nice and round. Play the sequence. Let's go ahead and clear out this sequence. Actually, let's just bring up another one here. MIDI out B, channel 1. Pad perform. Okay. Let's get another, let's just do just a basic 1 in 11 kick pattern. Let's do 1 bar. Just something really simple. Okay, that's really high pitch, so it doesn't, just sounds like a click. Yes, we are making a custom percussion set for a down tempo type track. Exactly, that's what we're doing. And then, like I said, later we're going to do some wavetable synthesis sampling on the Eurorack. But yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. We're building the pieces to produce full songs. You know, I kind of want to hear this in contrast to a snare. So I'm going to go ahead and just whip up an easy pattern. Okay, let's move on to the snare drum real quick. Got that saved, ready to play back. Okay, it doesn't sound like a snare at all. So, again, go to our wave. See, it's an A5, so it's analog waveform, so that's probably why. So let's go to our P's. Let's also go to the... We're going to need some noise to make a snare, but let's take the click down for now. So now we're just hearing the tone generator. Let's make sure the distortion's off. Okay, now we just have that ringy bell. Okay. Bring the pitch down. We're going to need less decay. Exactly, yeah, I don't want to just build the whole kit in a vacuum on its own. I want to let the kick play and then, you know, design the snare with it. Exactly. Okay, so when you're designing snares, they can kind of be tricky. You got to kind of think of how a snare drum sounds when you have the snares turned off. The snares are, you know, the springs that are underneath the snare. So you got to first, you're going to be able to get that with the noise generator. That's where you're going to get that part of the sound. But first, you've got to get the body with the tone generator here on the Nord drum too. So let's try to think of what it sounds like when you flip the snares off on a snare drum. Something kind of like that. Turn on the punch. Go back in. I've got to get a new track on the MPC, MIDI out 4, channel 2 this time, into pad perform mode. And there we go. There's our snare that we're working on. Okay, let's take that. Let's go ahead and bring in some noise and see what that's starting to sound like. Decent snare with brown noise in it. Ah, okay, Eurorack. Yeah, I haven't messed with that yet. I've got a decent sized Eurorack myself, so I really haven't gotten into VCV, but you'll see here in a bit. Black or blue? Yeah, okay. Give a little bit of a distortion here. It's local inside the Nord drum. Okay, now we got to go back and change this tone a little bit, 'cause it's kind of not working for me. Okay. So you can hear the bend parameter there. Let's turn up the time. So I guess for a real drum, this is bending it down. You can hear the pitch go way down. Let's turn the noise down for a minute. You can hear the pitch again, or the tone again. So yeah, bending down really makes no sense. If you hit a drum, there are other noise types other than white in the Nord drum. I'm not certain. I do not think so, but we can dig into the manual here in a minute and find that out. Just want to finish up the tone part of this, because this is always the trickiest part of snares for me, is getting getting it to sound. The noise is kind of easy to add in. Bring up the volume a little bit. Okay. Okay, that's getting close to bringing a little bit of noise. That's pretty close to like your traditional marching. So low velocity sounds kind of I mean, obviously it sounds kind of unnatural regardless, but you know, that could pass for a snare, except for at low velocity it does something kind of weird. I'm just going to record that in real quick so I don't have to keep playing it. No, that's not right. For gigs, let's go to track 3. Let's get some sort of hi-hat going, just to what resembles a beat. So let's go into the pad perform on the MPC, and let's go ahead and use the note repeat function. Go and record that. Okay. Let's take a break from snares for a minute, and let's just listen to this hi-hat. I'm gonna solo this out. Go into my track mute so I can get those back fairly easily. There we go. Okay. So just kind of play with some of these parameters here. I like to use the MIDI CCs, which I have conveniently printed out here on these little pieces of paper so I can assign them to the cue links in the MPC Live. So let's go ahead and spice this up a little bit. Kind of like that. There's all noise generator. Looks like there's a little bit of resonance in there. Changing the different cymbal waves in the tone generator. I think I'm like in C1. C1 sounds pretty good. A little bit of like a cowbellish type thing going on, but just give it just a little bit of bend. And I guess a cymbal really wouldn't bend, so let's not give it any bend. Let's save that for the drums. How does it sound with a little bit of click? Gray noise in Eurorack. Nice. Yeah, I know. Sometimes you just got to know. Okay. All right, that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and get into cue links. Cue link edit, where are you? Oh, I'm so much more of an Octatrack guy than MPC guy, so I sometimes have to stumble through this guy, but cue link edit, there it is, program. Okay, let's try tone decay is CC50. Let's go ahead and make this first parameter CC50. There we go. Oh, am I still on? Oh, I'm on the wrong MIDI track, that's why. MIDI track 3. Cue link edit. There we go. Okay. So now, So we've got a little bit of movement there. We can go ahead and record that in with the MPC. Let's see what else we can do. How about noise filter frequency? Let's try that. CC14. Oh, it's recording all the time. I don't want to record all the time. Undo that. Undo that. There we go. And then maybe mix balance 50 CC 58. And the MIDI CCs is really fun with the Octatrack too. It's a little bit easier to get in and assign those, in my opinion, so it's kind of more on the fly, but this can be cool too. Okay, let's unmute our other tracks. Let's give it a little bit of drive from the analog heat. Turn down that hi-hat a little bit. Balance everything out. That sounds pretty good. Let's store the kit in case something blows up. All right. Let's go back and play with this kick drum a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and use the exponential envelope for the tone. It just sounds a little bit more natural. There we go. Mess with the pitch. Usually, that's one thing I like doing drums on a percussion synthesizer is once you start actually making the track, you can kind of tune the kick drum to the bass once you get into your more production flow and whatnot. Makes the snare sound so much lower and cool, almost yeah. I mean, that's kind of wide open. You can kind of do whatever you want. Get really, you know, you can really get it pretty weird with it if you want to. Yeah, still my iPhone is still frozen. Sorry about that, but yeah, it's really can be really experimental in that way. Let's keep going with some more hi-hats. Let's come up here to 4. Okay, we've got a tom in there right now, and I think I like what's on 4 better than what's on 6. So let's go ahead and copy that. Let's throw that into 6. Okay, now we can work over number 4. Let's get back. Let's go ahead and pull up another MIDI track. Channel 4, back into my pad perform. Okay, there's what 4 sounds like right now. Let's go ahead and turn the heat off, so we're just getting the analog 4, or the drum 4. Turn that down just a bit. Okay, so we're going to do mixer all tone first, and we're going to choose this hi-hat algorithm. That one's got a bend to it. Okay, so there you can hear the bend parameter in action there. Bending up. I do have a SoundCloud. I think you can find me on Bandcamp. Again, it's Observer 0BSRVR with a 0, not an O. You can find me on what's it called? Spotify. Yeah, I've got a record on Spotify called On the Edge of Time from 2013, I believe. So it's a little dated, but it's still, it's good quality electronic music stuff. Kind of goes through a couple different genres. So mainly drum and bass and mid-tempo type stuff. Yeah, please check it out. I do believe it's on Bandcamp, but it's definitely on Spotify, definitely on Apple Music. 0BSRVR. It's Observer with no vowels. All right, getting back to this. Also, any music you hear on the stream will be my own music. Just a heads up, I've got actually the leading track. Yes, I've got a lot of linking and whatnot to do, so thanks, Joe. I'll be working on that, trying to get some content generated, so I've got something to push. But yes, thank you. Any music I play will be some of my music, so I've got one coming up here in the break here in just a couple minutes that I'm going to play from that record. Okay, getting back to this. As you can see, this C3 gets pretty nuts here. Turn that bend parameter down. It sounds a little bit more realistic. But if you want some wacky synth effects, there are plenty here to be had. Plenty of wackiness to be had. Okay. Turn that bend down. Actually, it's a cymbal, so no bend. Again, I want to use an exponential decay envelope. Much more natural sounding to my ear. Okay, we can get something out of that. Let's go ahead and make a recording. Alright, that'll be fun to play around with. Let's go ahead and leave that. Let's just do a couple cue links on this one too. So, back to my reference here. Tone, decay, low. CC50. Actually, here's the ones I already have still in here. Let's just add to them. Okay, let's make this one CC51. I want to hear what 51 sounds like. Okay, I like that little snippy thing on the top end. That's cool. Kick down a little bit, snare up a little bit, turn these hi-hats down a little bit. There we go. Maybe put a little bit of reverb on it. A little bit of room verb. Cool, thank you very much, Joe. Appreciate you checking that out. All right, so we've got fairly decent set of, I mean, obviously, I'll probably dig into these more, but for the stream's sake, I'm just going to keep moving on. Just 'cause this is enough to work with to play with some wavetable synths like I want to do in the next hour. So I've been making music for a long time. I also play bass in a band called 32 Leaves, so been making music for, I don't know, since I was probably 15 or 16, so almost 20 years now. Actually, over 20 years. Yeah. Electronic music, probably a little bit less than that, because I started playing bass first. So, but I've been, I know more than your average bear, basically. So, okay. And I've seen a lot of people come into production and just kind of get swamped by the gear, just buy stuff and really not get anywhere with it. So, just trying to kind of give an example of how to work with things. You don't always have to be writing, amazing songs. Sometimes you're just going to be doing things like producing sounds and making drum kits and doing things you're going to use later when you're going to be in the writing mood. So I think if you spend some time doing stuff like this, it goes a long way. So let's get back to this for just a little bit. I'm going to wrap this segment up and get on to sampling here in the next hour. So I just want to spend a little bit of time with the toms here on the end here on channels 5 and 6. I already really like the sound of these. Maybe they got a let's go ahead and hear them, what they sound like with some actual. Oh, on the wrong MIDI channel. Get a new track, MIDI channel 5. Basically, the way this works is the 6 channels each respond to their own respective MIDI channel. Okay, so here's our tom. Let's go and turn it down a little bit. Let's pitch down the MPC. It's almost too deep. It's got some good weight to it. Kind of like this one. I think I'm just going to bring it up a little bit. In pitch. And then give this a little bit more decay. Have that be my floor tom. Ooh, that's really thunderous. That's nice. Play with some pan a little bit. So that floor tom, if you're looking at a drum kit, would probably be off to your left. Drummer's right-handed like most of them are. Sorry, lefties. So there's and then we'll put the high tom a little bit to the right. Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't, as far as fitting into a genre goes, I mean, if you're trying to produce tracks that you want to sell to DJs, obviously you're going to have to conform somewhat, but I don't know, there's so many people that are just making their own stuff that's just cool and unique and on their own, and I don't know, I wouldn't feel the need to have to conform when you're producing your tracks. I mean, unless you're looking to do that, produce songs for DJs to play, which I think is a really saturated market and is really tough to do. I think you're better off, just my opinion, doing your own thing and making tracks for yourself to play. That's my approach anyway. When I first started off, trying to make tracks for DJs, and don't get me wrong, some people have some success with it, but I tend to like designing stuff for my own use better. Okay, let's just finish up these toms. I'm going to take a quick break, and then we'll get back and jump on the Eurorack for part 2. Kind of liking that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and double the length of this sequence. Double the length. There we go. Now we've got 2 bars to mess with. Back in my pad perform. I'm just going to put in just a sloppy little tom roll here at the end of the bar. So there's channel 5. Now I need another channel for 6. Oop. MIDI out B, channel 6. Pad perform. There we go. Undo that and try something else. Oh. That's kind of goofy. Alright, I left overdub on accident, but that's kind of cool, so let's just roll with it. Cyberpunk, dark synth, yeah, stuff I'm all into, brother man. You're in the right place. Alright, well, it's not the best sounding kit, but hopefully I've at least demonstrated some of the capabilities of the Snare Drum 2 for you. I'll probably polish this up later off stream, but I'm going to play you a tune here while I take a quick refreshment break, and then we're going to go ahead and fire up the Eurorack, get some wavetable oscillators going in, and do a little bit of sampling session for some sounds to use later. So, I will be back. All right. Welcome back from my OBS troubleshooting break, where all of my network cameras decided to stop working. So I've makeshift rigged up this awesome view for you guys So bear with me. This will be the worst stream that I do, I promise you. Alright, so we're gonna go over to the Eurorack. In the first hour, we did some Snare Drum 2 tone programming, built ourselves a little drum kit, and now we're gonna use that drum kit to basically just run a loop, and we're gonna go ahead and sample two of my wavetable oscillators, the Industrial Music Electronics Piston Honda and the black wavetable VCO. Now I wanted to take some time to build a patch here during that break, but I spent it troubleshooting, so gonna have to bear with me while I kind of build this patch. But let's go ahead and go over to the Eurorack. Sorry about this crappy angle. Should have been a nice angle from my iPad, but like I said, little growing pains here. Okay, so we're gonna start off with the Industrial Music Electronics Piston Honda. We're going to use it, we're going to tone shape it with the Make Noise Opto Mix. It's down here. I know it's a horrible angle, so I do apologize. Okay, we're going to have to go and patch it on through here because it's really far away. Okay, we're going to use Opto Mix Channel 2. And I'm going to be using also the Industrial Music Electronics Stilson Hammer MK2 for sequencing. The reason I love this thing for sequencing is its random capabilities. It can do looped random, which is really nice to have. Thanks, Joe. Yeah. Been building it up for a long time. Thanks for the compliments on the rack. I'll put my modular grid, make that available to you guys later. Yeah, I like the Stilson Hammer because you can do looped random with it, and you can basically have it write things for you, which, after you've done music production long enough, is a wonderful thing, because sometimes you just don't have any musical creativity gas, and you need an idea, and loopable random is fantastic for that. I'll show you. We're just about ready here. I'm patching up some clocking so we can clock the Stilson Hammer to the MPC. Clock is coming in via MIDI through the Pittsburgh MIDI 3 way over here. I've got a cable routed around the back coming to my clock divider, which is the Noise Engineering Integra Solum. If you have any questions about any of these modules, let me know. I can dive in deeper for you. Like I said, we're going to be doing our Thursday, just a reminder, our Thursday module deep dive, Eurorack module deep dive. Our first one's going to be this Thursday, the 9th, WMD Blender. It's a very simple module, but for the first one, we're just gonna keep it simple. It should be fun though. So yeah, if you have any questions about any of these modules, let me know. Want me to do a deep dive? Want to see how they work with any other module I happen to have? Feel free. I'd be happy to entertain any requests as far as that goes. Okay, back to the rack. Got my clocking patched up. Let's make sure if I hit play, I'm still hearing the MPC. And yes, now I know you can't see the flashing on my clock divider, but yeah, we are rocking and rolling. Okay, I have to manually reset the Stilson. Okay, I'm sending gate out to Make Noise Maths. We're going to use Maths to hit the control in on the Opto Mix. We should be hearing something now. Let's fade this up. Oh, we've got one more patch we need to make. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, here's the Piston Honda. This is the very first oscillator I got when I got into Eurorack. I got into Eurorack because I wanted to make just the nastiest wavetable synthesizer that I could put together. So the Piston Honda by, at the time, Harvestman, which is now Electronic industrial music instruments is what they're called now. It's probably the best for, I don't know, I guess I'd call it like malfunctioning droid type wavetable sounds. I'm just going to go and scan through some here. See, when it gets down in the low pitch, it can get really nice and meaty. This is a nice one. I like this one a lot. It's good for deep wobbles and whatnot. If you're into bass music. Another good one for deep basses. Also got this patched into the scope. Let me see, you guys can barely see it over there, so I'm not going to waste too much time on the scope, but we'll fix that for down the road. Some of these look absolutely nuts, and it's cool to see it on the scope. And I've got an old crappy analog scope, so it looks looks really cool. It's way cooler looking than it is useful, but that's, you know how we do. Okay. So now you've heard some of the wave. There's a lot of different banks of wavetables in this thing. Just gonna scan through a few more. One of the unique things about this particular wavetable oscillator is the fact that you can, and I thought it was something that was wrong with it when I first got it, but it's actually, there you can hear it. If you have the potentiometer set kind of in between two values, it kind of glitches back and forth. You can hear that right there. You can kind of hear that glitching. It's glitching between two of the values. I guess it's advertised as a feature, but I think it kind of lends itself to the more malfunctioning droid sound, like I was saying. That's kind of its thing. This looks really badass in the scope. Yeah, next time we'll make sure you guys can see it. This one looks really cool too. It's funny how making things look cool on the oscilloscope also usually makes them sound good. Okay, so let's get into the randomness. So I'm going to patch in my envelope generator. I'm going to bring this down just in case it's loud. I'm going to fire up the sequencer. I'm going to mute our drums. I'm coming back over here to just mute our toms. I'm going to mute our hi-hats. Just keep our kick and snare going. Okay. Okay, I'm using channel 2 on the Stilson hammer to drive gates and CV to the piston Honda. Now if I hit on the Stilson hammer, I know you can't see in this view, unfortunately. Maybe I can bump it down a little bit without wrecking everything. You really can't see it down there. So, oh, there you go. That's a little bit better. Okay, so if I hit random and then hit a track page, it randomizes the CV and the gates coming out. I can also scale the output. Here I can scale it down. It goes anywhere from 0 to 8 volts. So if I go down to here, there's 0 to 2 volts is the range that it's spitting out random CV in. It'll change. I can make it just the CV random in this track, so there's just changing the control voltage, using it for volt per octave, or I can change the gates. So as you can kind of see, with just hitting the randomization button, you're gonna get, it's gonna write things for you basically. So I'm gonna go ahead and use a trick here. I'm gonna use I'm going to use the track 3 to basically just give me a modulation sequence. And I'm going to use that sequence to modulate where we are, to basically scan through the wavetable. So let's get this going again. Hit my manual reset on the Stilson. Okay. I'm actually going to bring this up. Maybe you can see the oscilloscope a little bit. Okay. So, what I'm going to do, since we're kind of going for a mid-tempo halftime vibe, I'm going to go ahead into the Stilson hammer, and I'm going to run it at half speed. Just this sequence. You can run, it's a 4-channel sequencer. You can run each channel at a different division to your clock. So now you can see it's kind of slowed down here. I'm going to go ahead and turn up the fall amount on the maths. So now I'm just going to keep randomizing it until it's starting to do something that I like. Okay, I'm going to start turning up the wave scanning of the wavetable, which is being voltage controlled by another sequence. Now I'm going to make that sequence, I'm going to make it 0 to 8 volts on my channel 3 out on the Stilson, so I've got the most voltage to play with. You can hear it scanning around and changing the timbre. That wavetable's kind of loud. Let's go ahead and try another one. This one here, you can hear, you kind of get that bitty, distorted, gritty, malfunctioning droid sound I was kind of talking about. Send it less CV. Yeah, that one's very malfunctiony. Okay, let's randomize some more. It's got some nice bass. All right, let's take our modulation a little bit further. So on our modulation track, sequence track 3 on the Stilson, we're going to use we're already using the CV out just for a modulation control voltage. I've multed it so I can throw it other places, but we're going to use the gate out, and we're going to ping, which is basically like starting the cycle of an LFO. I've got the 4MS quad pingable LFO here way over in the corner. First LFO I ever got when I got into Eurorack. We're going to take the gate out, and we're going to sync that LFO to the gate out of channel 3 here, which we're using for modulation. So let's do that. Let's take a look at it. We don't want a whole lot of triggers, so I'm going to clear it out, and I'm just going to throw in a trigger on 1 and step 1 and step 11. All right, start our sequence. Okay, now we've got this LFO that we need to patch over. Go and patch it over to a mult here so we can play around with it. And let's go ahead and use that CV to scan the wavetables and see how this works, how the LFO sounds instead. Some more randomization. different bank of wavetables. This is a fully expanded piston Honda. There we go. We're getting some filth. Okay, let's go ahead and play with some randomization with this tone. Okay, let's get some more modulation going on. Let's go ahead and modulate our amp envelope. Let's go ahead and take another envelope or another LFO from the 4MS quad pingable LFO. Let's go ahead and just tap out kind of a slower triangle LFO is what the triangle wave is what the quad pingable LFO puts out. So we've got a skew control so we can make it pointier at the end or pointier at the beginning. Let's use this. I'm going to bring it into channel 3 of maths so we can attenuate it, and we're going to control our fall portion of our AD envelope we're using for an amp envelope. Again, if you guys have any questions about any of these modules, let me know in the chat. Feel free to email me at foreveraudio@gmail.com, and I'll hit it in a future stream. Yeah, okay. So we are attenuating with channel 3. So now we're going to get some difference in our amp decay. I'm going to go and slow down the LFO a little bit. That's controlling that. This is kind of cool. Got like weird sounds like this that you never really know where they're going to fit in unless you have them for later use. So I like to roll tape on stuff like this. It's off camera now since I had to remove the camera, but I'm just I'm basically calling up the sampler on my MPC, and I'm just going to mute that sound for a second. Nope. And yeah, I'm just going to take a little bit of sampling of that into my MPC so I have it to use for later. I was going to just roll Logic the whole time on this and record the whole thing, but I didn't want to risk it being the first 2-hour stream. Didn't want to burn up the computer the first day, so yeah, maybe we'll try that some other time. Also, I want to get into Bitwig too. I'm a big user of Bitwig, and I love integrating it with the Expert Sleepers ES3. I want to get into some of that later as well. But yeah, today I'm going to keep it simple. Okay, so I've got some sampling of that. Let's keep moving on. Let's bring that back in. Kind of hear some of that glitchy factor of that industrial music electronics charm and their little glitchiness of their knobs. Big up Mac Joe in the chat. Okay, now I've moved to some more tempo sunk LFOs. I'm not pulling them from the gauge from the Stilson anymore. Now I'm getting them from the clock divider. So we're getting more tempo sunk on the grid modulations, but I'm skewing the LFOs. Again, I'm skewing the LFOs from the 4MS. You can see here it's got a skew control. So this is my CV control for the wave scanning. Pitch it up a little bit. Go handheld here for a minute. Here we've got the, you can see the piston Honda. I've got mounting hardware on order. Sorry, guys. Go and throw some random into that. Maybe pitch it down. It's a funky little synth riff. I like that. Let's go. Again, I'm going to go over to the MPC and I'm going to bring that in. So you're going to hear it go silent for a minute while I use my Alt 3-4 bus on my good old trusty Mackie 1402 VLZ3. Spitting it over to my MPC to collect some samplage. Again, this Thursday, WMD Blender Shootout, Deep Dive, whatever you want to call it. This is the module, very simple 4-channel voltage controlled cross-fading mixer. One of the first mixers I got when I started my system. Awesome module. Definitely could recommend it for somebody that was, starting up rack. Okay, let's get back to this. Let's bring my hi-hats back in on my beat. Yes, I do have a Telharmonic. Very complicated module. My girlfriend's favorite, actually, if she's listening. Yeah, maybe we'll do that one day. That's a complicated one to master, but it definitely gets some cool sounds. Okay. Bring the piston Honda back in. Just going to change up the sequence. Put on some effects. resync this. Stop. Hit my manual reset and go. Hey, it's already cooler. Let's randomize some more. That's kind of cool. Roll the frequency down on the Optomix a little bit. Got some more decay, more modulation to the decay stage. Kind of interesting. Trying to tune it. I'm going to fire up my rack tuner here, which is out of view, and see if I can maybe get this in a D or a C before I sample it. Pull the volt per octave output. So now it's not getting volt per octave CV. That's cool. Just kind of got a groove to it. Let me catch that real quick. Again, going back over to my MPC. I'm going to mute it, send it out the Alt-3-4 bus, catching it in my MPC. So you're not going to hear it for a second here. In the chat, what are your favorite module recommendation worthy module off the top of your head? I mean, okay, I got that sample. Let me keep that. Okay, I mean, depends on where you're. Please don't say math. Well, I gotta say, I have a maths, love maths. It's a fantastic module. But I mean, depends on what you want to do with it. That's the cool thing about Eurorack is you can do. You can build out a rack to just do effects. You can build out a rack just to do, just to process contact mics. You can build out a rack to do, just do drums. I mean, it just depends on what you want to do. So it's really hard for me to recommend something without knowing what your goals in Eurorack is, or in modular synthesis, I should say. For me, was my favorite. Oh, okay. It's a toss-up. I mean, obviously I love oscillators, I love sequencers, and I love filters. Those are always the glitzy modules. I'd say, I don't know, it's probably a cross between this guy right up here, the Pittsburgh modular live forms. I really love pairing that up with the Moleco dual Borg. And then in my travel case, which is in the other room, the Moog DFAM is so fun. Moog DFAM, and also the Noise Engineering Loquelic Itritus. Probably my favorite oscillator. Small little 10 HP guy, and it just does so much stuff. It's tough to say. I mean, I guess if I was going to start with something, I'd probably start with an oscillator. I'd start with either with a complex oscillator, probably either the Loquelic Itritus or the double helix the Lifeforms double helix from Pittsburgh Modular. Really packs a lot into it. 2 oscillators, a wave folder, a utility LFO, and 2 VCAs, and a voltage controlled router. So this really can do a lot on its own. If I was going to start again, that's probably how I would start personally. But like I said, I got into Eurorack because I wanted to do wavetable, so I started with the the piston Honda. But anyway, let's get back to our sampling here. Trying to keep these to about 2 hours, so we've got a little bit of time left. If you have any questions, again, email me, foreveraudio@gmail.com. Also, obviously, if you're here, you can feel free to drop me a question in the chat. Okay, let's get back to the modular. Here we go. Actually, you know what I want to do? Enough of the piston Honda. Let's do one more sample session, this time with the Erica Synths Black Wavetable VCO. See if I can maybe get this up in the upper tier here. There, you can see it a little bit. So yeah, we're gonna use the Black Wave. Oh, is that gonna stay? Yeah, it'll stay. Okay, we're gonna use the Black Wavetable VCO, and since it has a sub output, one of my favorite things about it, I'm gonna route both its normal output and its sub output into warps, mutable instruments warps, which is basically fantastic at smashing up two sounds and melding them together and applying wave folding and cross folding and all sorts of other modulation goodness to two different channels, and it spits it out one channel. So let's go and hear that without any control from math. Let's just turn up. Okay, so here it is, coarse tuning, bring it up a little bit. So here you can hear, this is obviously the low frequency, the sub output, which I can shift in pitch. And then on channel 1 I've got the actual wavetable oscillator. Going through the different banks, I'll pitch it up a little bit. Sorry, I usually have things pitched way down because I like bass music, so I'm always making big, nasty, gnarly, stonking sounds, so I'm usually pitched way down, so just choosing the different banks here, scanning through. This is one of my favorites right here. Let's just play with this one for a minute. So let's bring up the LFO that I was using to CV the piston Honda. Let's bring it into the Black Wavetable. Let's bring up some of that CV. Actually, we need to run our sequencer for that to be doing anything. So. So again, I'm just hitting the randomize button on the Stilson hammer to get different sequences. And you know what? I'm not putting this through an amp envelope, so let's get the benefits of an amp envelope. Let's go ahead and put our maths. Let's take our maths and put that back in there, and now reset our sequence. See what we have now. I'm going to go ahead and, earlier we made track 2 at halftime. Let's bring it back up to 16th notes. That's cool. Dig that. Let's see what tempo. We're at 148 right now. Might be like a cool drum and bass type of bass line. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna ratchet up the tempo up to 174, kind of get into some drum and bass territory. Slow it back down to half. Could even go slower than that. Roll back our decay on our maths envelope. I've now divided the rate down by 4. Restart our sequence again. Changed up the fall, the CV we're using for fall on the maths decay envelope is now sequence 3 as opposed to an LFO. I'm randomizing sequence 3. Again, this is the Erica Synths Black Wavetable VCO going through the Mutable Instruments warps into an opto mix, and we are hitting it with a channel of maths. You can hear that snappy maths envelope. The Erica Synths to the Piston Honda. Yeah, again, like I was saying, Piston Honda is really that malfunctioning droid type of wavetable, whereas the Erica Synths with that sub out just has so much girth and weight to it. It's just got a lot of beef to it, and you can pitch. You've got 3-octave control on the sub out. So let's just listen to just the sub out. Hi-hat off. Yeah, the Piston Honda is pretty extreme. That's exactly why I love it. I also have a third. I have the Synthtech E950 circuit bent VCO that has 2 banks of wavetables in it. Maybe we'll play with that one day. Turning back up the wavetable out on the so there's a mix of the sub out and the wavetable out on the Erica Synths. go. That's called a happy accident right there. Alright, well, never to one to kill a good jam. While we've got this rolling, I'm going to go and patch up something else. I'm going to use my 4th channel of the Stilson Hammer. I'm going to stop this a little bit so we don't get bored of it, but I do like that groove. I'm going to take this 4th channel of the Stilson Hammer, and any requests, you want to hear the Telharmonic, or you want to hear, I've got a Jupiter Storm paired up with the Galilean Moons. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and listen to that double helix oscillator. Let's listen to the Pittsburgh modular double helix. It's mainly because I can get a good view of it here. So I'm not even going to use an amplification envelope. I'm just going to use the gate out right into the dynamic CV in. And you can use different lengths on the Stilson Hammer to basically act as like a decay stage, basically. So let's go ahead and take CV out, and let's go to volt per octave in on oscillator 1. Let's go and run this on its own, and let me get this patched up to the mixer so you can hear it. Coming right into the output of the wave folder built into the double helix, and I'm just going to run this on its own using the internal. There we go. Okay. That was the black wavetable. Oh, you know what? I should unmute channel 4 and randomize it. Oop, and unmute it. There we go. Okay, so we've got some bleep bloop going on. Let's turn it back to external sync it up. Actually, here real quick, just to give you a quick demo, there's the sine wave, nice and beefy on this thing. I'm going to go ahead and FM a sine wave into from oscillator 2 into oscillator 1. Wavefold it. Let's patch in a sub oscillator. This thing gets really down and dirty. That's just 2 sine waves. Here's the Pittsburgh blade wave, just the blade wave. Blade wave is a type of square wave, so we can do pulse width modulation with the secondary oscillator. You can hear it, that's the pulse width modulation. Nick Batt would be proud for all you Sonic State fans. That's pretty nasty. Okay, let's leave that patched. Put that sub oscillator back in there, and let's go ahead and start hitting it with the Stilson Hammer. Let's turn our sequence back on. There we go. Just right off the bat, something nuts. Put some reverb on it. Bring back in that Erica synths. Kind of having some fun playing the mixer, playing the mix up. And that's the first thing to come out of that sequence 4. That's just happy accident, you know? Yeah, blade wave is good, yes. Let's go ahead and randomize that, randomize the double helix a little bit. I'm gonna quantize the output going to the double helix. Just the double helix. Play with the wave folder a little bit. Let's take that modulation sequence out. Let's bring it into the voltage controlled router B, which we can route anywhere we want with this little row of switches here. I know it's tough to see, but we can route anything that goes into VCA A or B can be routed internally with just these switches, which is why I love this thing. You can just flip switches around, send VCA all over the place, and get all sorts of different sounds out of it. As you can see, I like things that are very experimental. I like happy accidents. I like stuff to just kind of write things for me, and yeah, that's kind of my way of working with the Eurorack. Always looking for happy accidents. Let's go and cut the tempo. Cut in half. Let's change it into pendulum mode, so it's running the sequence all the way to the end and then it turns around and comes back, as opposed to just keeps going forward. Just keep randomizing. Speed it back up. I can time that delay a little bit better. MXR carbon copy analog delay. And the reverb is the TC Electronics Nova Verb. Ancient thing I've had forever. Wave folder. Let's go ahead and set some CV to the wave folder. I'm going to use another LFO from the 4MS quad pingable. Got some good movement going on in the wave folder now. Bring in a second, as opposed to mixing oscillator 1 using 2 oscillators, let's use oscillator 2 for the second wave folder input. Use a square wave. You can could see, the timbres can get really complex with this oscillator fairly quickly. I'm going to go and change tempo. Just do a little bit more sampling, and then we're going to wrap things up. I'm going to bring this down to my deep dubstep tempo that I normally work at, which is 148. Hit my manual reset. Digging that already. Okay, let's take some sampling of the double helix. Again, I'm going back over to my MPC. And I'm going to go ahead and send it out with my Mackie mute bus. Now it's hitting my MPC, and I'm just going to get a few seconds of that. Okay, that should be good. Let's keep that, bring that back in. Let's reset everything, get it all in sync. Digging that. Digging that, yep. Yeah, see, and that's just all mainly just random stuff. Just keep randomizing patterns until it writes something for you, and then, you know, piece things together later. Go back to the rack for a few, and then we'll wrap things up. If I can find it, there we go. A little bit more randomization. See, now we've got enough different CVs going to it to where you're just changing some voltages here and there, and you're getting just all sorts of different things happening with the timbres that you'd probably never think of on your own. Happy accidents is the best thing about modular. Okay, now like I was telling you about the gates, I'm going to go in and change some of the gate lengths. We're not using an any sort of amplification envelope with the double helix. We're just hitting the dynamic CV input. I've got the dynamic CV knob turned up to about noon, and I'm just sending the gate outs from the Stilson Hammer MK2. Let's play with some of the gate out has a length parameter. The further up you put the slider on the, I don't know if you can see it down here, the further up you put these sliders, the longer the gates are. So let's go and just play with those a little bit, see if we can get some variation going on. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I always like to vary lengths on amplification envelopes and stuff like that, so it's... Just to give you a little comparison, so like I said, we were just using gates into the dynamic CV out. Let's go ahead and take those same gates. I'm going to send them into a Galilean Moons. It's kind of like a Fisher-Price My First Maths, in my opinion. I had the Galilean Moons first, and it kind of was my gateway to to getting into maths. So maybe that interests you, maybe it doesn't. But just so you can hear the difference, let me send the this is a attack decay envelope, so just 2 stages. I'm going to send that into the dynamic CVN on the life forms, just so you can get the difference when you're actually using an envelope. You can hear the difference. Reset. Here we go. So now we can modulate this decay, and this is just an attack. The Galilean Moons has just a attack decay, so it's very percussion-y, very percussion, or it's got an ADSR mode. I guess it's still, you only have control over attack and decay, but it will hold longer. It also has an infinite switch where it just cycles infinitely. So here's a very percussive. Let's go and have a little bit of fun with this and take the decay VC, and let's go ahead, get a longer cable here, patch this to an attenuator. Liking that. Going back to the Erica synths. Still grumbling along in there in the background, just grumbling away. Changing the wave folder parameters on the double helix. I'm liking this sequence, so I'm going to go ahead and catch this on the MPC. Just going to stop this for a minute, jump back into my sampler. And I'm going to do it again, not going to hear it again because I need to mute it. Just going to catch that real quick. It does, okay. I'm going to mute it again. I can't hear it either when it's sampling. Like I said, I had to do a kind of a workaround. Okay, that should be good. 15 seconds of that. Okay. A couple more things here. I'm going to wrap up here in just a few minutes. Is there anything you want me to try for the people in the chat? Let me know. I'm gonna do a little bit more randomization, and then we're gonna call it. And once again, don't forget WMD Blender Deep Dive this Thursday. Let me know if there's anything you want me to try with it. Gonna go ahead and explore the ins and outs of it. Very simple module. Okay. Do a little bit more sampling, and we're going to bring this sucker to a close. optimizing the double helix. Let's go and change oscillator 2 from a square to a saw. Let's change oscillator 1 from a blade to a pulse. You can really hear the scope of the double helix. It's also got a dynamics knob right here you can turn on just to go to drone mode if you want. We're using the Galilean moons as an amp envelope right now. Switched it to ADSR mode, so now you can kind of hear those different gate lengths. Let's go and drop the frequency on oscillator 1. Shut off the black wavetable. Ooh, I like that. Gonna catch that. Back into the MPC. Gonna hear it go quiet for a minute while I catch that sound. Seconds should be good. Saving that, bringing it back in. That's cool. Yeah, I'm gonna catch that too. Getting a couple seconds of that in the MPC. Once again, I'm sampling to it. Okay. All right, guys. Well, I am digging a lot of the stuff that we got. You know, like I said, I'm going to store those away, put them in folders, name them things, save them for some other time when I need them for production. That's kind of the way I work. I never try to just sit down and just write a track. Well, I do, but obviously I do these things too, where I sit down and just try to get sound fodder and things to use for, you know, stuff like that, drum kits, samples, things like that. So, again, this Thursday, 2 p.m. Pacific, we're going to do the WMD Blender Deep Dive. So yeah, please come and check that out. I'm going to keep trying to do these streams. I'm going to try to do at least 3 a week and then at least 1 or 2 on the weekend. Like I said, I'm going to be doing more jamming on the weekend, more writing and, you know, just production stuff during the week. So, again, if you have any questions, my email address is below, foreveraudio@gmail.com. Again, thank you for showing up. I am Observer 0BSRVR. I'm going to be working on linking up all my social media things and whatnot. Coming very soon, so it'll be a lot easier to find all that stuff. But yeah, tune back in Thursday, and we will do the deep dive on the Blender. Send me any questions you have. I want to thank you guys a lot for tuning in, my very first live stream. So let me know what you think, and it'll only be getting better from here. So thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate you.